All right, welcome to episode number 1 of On the Mat Chat podcast. This is a brand new podcast here on the Warrior Martial Arts channel where we are going to be bringing on guests to help inspire the youth in the community to either start their own business, start their martial arts careers. So we're looking to bring in business owners, our parents of our students, our current students, and of course our instructors here at Warrior Martial Arts to tell a little bit about their story on how they started, what they love the most about Taekwondo, and how does it inspire them to become leaders in their own communities. And so today we have the very own one and only Mr. Byron. How's it going, Mr. Byron?
Pretty good. Thank you for having me on episode 1.
Yeah, episode number 1, and actually, your black belt number 1, right?
Yeah.
So Mr. Byron has actually been training with us since how old, Mr. Byron?
I was what, 2013? I was 11. It was about 10 years ago now.
Okay, nice. So again, this podcast is really going to be just sharing your story, right? So it's the first time you've ever been on a podcast?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually.
All right. So let's start from the beginning. Tell us about your story of starting Taekwondo and how was day number 1 and how did you come about finding us and how did it all start for you?
Yeah. So, well, my family's known your family for years, even before this. Because to my knowledge, I've known you guys since I was like 5 at least.
Yeah. And tell them the story of what you did before.
So I remember when I was 5 or 6, my parents were trying to get me into like a sport or an activity. And they heard that you were hosting guitar lessons. And yeah, that's they're like, okay, yeah, let's try it out. Tried it for like a year, stopped, I think, for another year. Then I tried it again. Still never got super good at it because I didn't really practice. But I kind of did that before that.
Guitar lessons. And I remember, I think one of the first classes Mr. Byron came to, he had like a extra large guitar.
Yeah, that thing was like about my height. So.
Yeah. All right, cool. So when you were about 5, you started that?
Yeah, I was like 5 or 6.
Okay. And did you try any other sports between that time and the time you started?
I was really into soccer, but I never like had the courage to start it. The sport that the main first thing I really tried was martial arts once I was 11.
So tell us about your first day.
So I remember my first day. I kind of remember it. All I remember really is the jumping jacks because I was like one of the first. It was literally the first thing that we did as part of the warm up. After the jumping jacks, I was already exhausted because again, first time doing a sport or like activity or anything like that. That's the biggest memory I have so far.
Okay, and you came in with your sister, or did you just take it by yourself?
I believe I did it on my own. It was on day 2 or by like week 2 that my sister had tried it. And then we both got started after that. After she tried it, we both signed up and we kept going.
Awesome. So let's fast forward a little bit, maybe share with us a little bit of the highlights of those first years, color belts, belt testings, like what kept you motivated to keep going, or what did you love the most when you were first training?
Yeah, I mean, one thing was as like after like a few months, I had this one other student that was like about a year younger than me, but I felt like I had to try my best to be better than him. I think you remember him. He's I think he was one of your relatives, but yeah, I always tried to be better than him.
Okay.
So really just the competition, like one-on-one, kind of like helped me with pushing. I know about a few years in, I think it was like 2 year and a half in, I wanted to stop, But because of my confidence going up, and it was really just the confidence and self-esteem that I was building throughout the classes.
Yeah.
My parents didn't let me get out.
Okay.
That's pretty much it there.
And so how was that like with your parents? Because I had a similar story. Like, when I came up training, it was just really hard. And I think part of the initial training, because you were, part of my first 10 students, right? So I kind of just mimicked what I went through, and it was like hardcore, like train, hard every day. I've learned over time that, and as you yourself as an instructor, I think we've talked about this, is that has to be a balance between, the student being motivated and inspired to train hard versus like being a little bit too strict, too disciplined, where they get discouraged of continuing. So at one point, I myself too, like, would cry to go to martial arts. Right? I just, like, I can say, like, I hated it. It was just to the point where it's like, not for me, like, too hard. But it was my parents that really motivated me and pushed me to keep going. Like, they would drag me. Like, the martial arts school was convenient enough where it was like right next to where my parents would work. So like they would drag me to class. So how was that with your parents? Like,
yeah. So, I mean, I wasn't like that for most of my like up to black belt journey. It was just a few like bits here and there where, like, if I didn't get down to technique, I didn't get down like something, or sparring also was like one of my biggest like motivation, like halts, I guess. Only because I was not like fit enough to like last an entire like sparring round or match. So even after those like wanting to stops, my parents would still kind of drag me to classes. I remember even like within like the first few months, we didn't have a car, so we were taking the bus. My mom would drag me and my sister onto the bus with our sparring gear, everything, ride like 25 minutes, which is normally like a 10-minute drive, and then there for class. So, I mean, they tried everything possible just to keep going and not let us stop going to classes.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. And I think it's important to have, parents like that supporting you. And so, I'm happy that you shared that, parents were really motivating you to keep going because they saw the benefits of, what the martial arts was doing for you. Yeah. Right. So you mentioned like confidence boost, self-esteem. And did you notice that yourself? Like, parents will always notice that, when we're kids, they'll be like, yeah, like he's more confident. Like, did you notice that yourself in school and other sports?
It wasn't until, like, I mean, my parents obviously saw it as they kept me in the program. It wasn't really until I had gotten to like near black belt testing. It took me a little while to like catch it, because I realized like as within like my last like 2 belts before getting to black belt, I was starting to help out peers, like other kids that were in classes like lower ranks below me. And then even in classes like school, I was answering like questions back when I was like 11, 12. Like I would be one of the kids in the back, right in the middle, really just kind of hiding in with everyone. But then I realized once I was like, what was it, like 8th grade, like 8th grade, I was answering more questions. That was one of the ones almost, well, kind of at the front. So it really just took a little while for me to realize that I was getting more confident because of martial arts.
Got it. So love that. Love all of that. Let's talk a little bit more about if other events that has happened throughout the years in your martial arts journey, which one of them being competitions, right? We were really big on competitions when you were coming up. I know personally from what I saw you go through that really, for me, that's really where I saw you develop and change because of the challenges that you were met with and you overcame through competitions. Tell me a little bit about your experience with competitions.
Yeah, so competitions and I have a love-hate relationship. I loved competing, especially in sparring and forums, but sparring specifically, after I competed, I hated it because it was always based off of, like, the divisions were made off of rank and weight, not by height or anything. So I was always paired up with the tallest people because they were like skinnier and much taller. And I felt like as soon as I see who's in my division, I always like lose my motivation. I think for the first handful of tournaments, I ended the day like after maybe getting like second or third place in something, maybe first. I was crying, but it was something I loved. Like it definitely helped me with that confidence. After every single one, I was improving on that confidence. Like, okay, yes, this one I'm gonna do better, and I did. Did I win? Probably not, but it definitely did build up after a few. But yeah, I mean, it was definitely a journey. Definitely something that if I didn't compete, I wouldn't be able to like improve on that confidence as much.
Right. Yeah.
That's pretty much it there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, you were paired up with monsters, like, 6 foot something. But like I said, I saw it being your coach, in Olympic Taekwondo, for those who don't know, you have a coach that sits in your corner, similar to boxing and other sports, and you have your fighter, right? And so as a coach, I too would be like, like, all right, well, this one's a little tough, right? But I saw you like go in there and like transform, like literally, take the challenge head on. And there was many, many times where we would go in and you would win like 1, 2, to get up to first place. It'd be like 3 matches sometimes, but you would go in there and hold your own. So I think that really for me is where I saw you, like that transformation, like, all right, like, this is really working, and helping, you become more confident and all that. So, that's awesome, man. I mean, so let's keep fast forwarding, right? So we talked about, competitions. When did you first start like helping out and transitioning into becoming an instructor, and how was that experience for you?
So I don't think I did it when I was a red black belt, but I know once I was a black belt, once we had switched locations like 2 stores down, I started helping out with like the little classes. It definitely felt weird because I was only used to kids around my age being in the class, like me taking the class. And then once I had started with like helping out, I was like, okay, now what do I do? I was asking whoever was the head instructor. I don't know if it was you or if it was one of the other instructors. But after every little thing that they had me do, I was like, okay, now what do I do? It was definitely a new experience. It took a little bit of time to know how to help, because that's a whole different like experience on its own.
Mm-hmm.
But it was definitely a step I needed to continue improving, not only in martial arts but as a person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So when was the first time you like taught a full class? How old were you?
I want to say it might be 16, but I want to say maybe 15.
Okay, 15, 16.
It was like one of the 3-4-year-old classes.
Yeah. And what are some of the skills that you've learned along the way with becoming an instructor? So, the benefits that you kind of acquired when you were a kid were things like confidence, self-esteem. What were some of the skills that you've had to learn and applied when teaching classes? And have you used a lot of the things that you learned when you were a kid and in teaching classes? Like, tell me a little bit more about.
Yeah. So in teaching classes, well, first of all, I learned how to teach. Something not that many people know when it comes to teaching or helping out is if it's like school or if it's martial arts or anything like that, you're learning more about it. So like while I was teaching like how to do a round kick or just how to do a technique, I was also like improving my own techniques in the process. So like while I was breaking it down, not only am I showing the kids how to do something, but I'm also like practicing it myself. But I mean, the overall thing is I learned how to communicate, because one, you have to talk to the kids, show them how to do something, break it down as small as possible. I got to talk to parents as well, trying to break it down for them. So it's really just communication. Communication is what I really developed while teaching the classes.
Yeah, communication is something that we talk about all the time, right? And I feel like it's because, and me myself, right? Like when I started teaching when I was like 15, 16, same thing. Started my first school when I was 18, 19. And so being in that role, even if it's a head instructor or a school owner, the business revolves around kids and parents, right? And so for parents to really trust an 18-year-old to teach a class and, know what they're doing, it's kind of tough, right? And so amongst, other 18-year-olds, they're still, acting their age, let's say, right? When becoming an instructor, a school owner, you kind of have to level up and just kind of mature a little bit faster and learn how to communicate with, parents, which is different than communicating with your own peers. So yeah, that's something I think you've gotten a lot better at. And yeah, it's an important piece to learn, not only to use it here at the school, but also in life, right? Important to communicate. And I feel like we talked about this the other day, is like, I feel like nowadays kids don't communicate as much. Like back in the day, like you would call someone, now you just text someone.
Yeah.
All right. Things are a lot faster and more in a digital world. And so I think the art of communication is important as we move forward, to also continue to teach that to our junior instructors and to the students as well.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely helps with the maturing. Something that I wanted to quickly just point out in what you mentioned is like when you really started work, like teaching, like, or you had the school like when you're 18, and then kids around 18-year-olds are like being 18-year-olds. Something that I realized, this is when I was like 16, 17, really, is a lot of parents. So I don't know. There was this point where parents are like guessing how old I was. But a lot of parents assume that I'm a lot older because of that communication. Mm-hmm. They're like, "Oh, I thought you were in college," when I'm really just a junior or senior. Same things happening with some of the other instructors that we have here that are now teaching the classes,
right.
Or assisting. Is like, "Oh, you act a lot older,"
right,
because of that communication.
Yeah.
So then they get surprised when they realize that they're like 16, 17,
Yeah.
instead of being like 21 or 22.
Yeah.
But yeah, it definitely helps you mature more, and just act older, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it's an important skill, right? I think, like I said, it's something that we're really like focusing on a lot more, because we see it's needed, right? It's needed. The kids need to learn how to communicate properly. So let's keep going down the timeline of your martial arts career, right? So you became an instructor, and now you're more in that management role. So we've gone to how many seminars? 2? 1, 2?
I believe this is about to be 2.
Just 1? Okay. So, and we've gone to different like little training seminars and stuff. So we last year we took Mr. Byron to Arizona to what we call a mastermind. And a mastermind is just a group of people that network in the same industry usually to help grow their business. And so we decided as a team to take Mr. Byron to kind of show you the other side, right? Because you've seen me as the instructor, you're a teacher, but the business side is usually behind the curtain, right? So you've really delved into the whole business from, payroll to hiring to cleaning the school, managing the school. So how's that experience been for you so far?
So yes, I have done basically a bit of everything when it comes to like running a school. It definitely puts everything in a different perspective. So like as of not yesterday, as of last year, after like even before, like right before the seminar, I started seeing everything a little bit different. So like whether it be the classes, like instead of being in the action, seeing it from like the outside, the school overall, like the cleaning, it's definitely a different level that I know it'll take a little to like get better at, and then see what I can do, or like from my point of view, what I can do to make the school better. Because before, the only thing I can like think of like while I was teaching or assisting was like, okay, just teaching this drill, but now I'm not just looking at the class. I'm looking at everything, the atmosphere, the environment. Then there's also like the back end stuff, which is a whole different story.
Yeah.
I mean, it definitely puts everything in a different perspective. Kind of like a trial of school owning.
Yeah. Yeah. And let's go into that topic. Like, do you see yourself becoming a school owner? Like, what are you looking forward to in the next couple of years?
I mean, from in the path that I have right now, as long as I keep improving, I see myself getting to that point. Of course, I do have like hiccups that I have to work on, but as long as I keep if I continue and focus, which I'm on track for. I can see myself getting to that point. That's definitely the first thing on my list at the moment, in terms of like other things I can do. But right now, that's my number one priority.
Awesome. I like it, Mr. Byron. Tell us a little bit more about what's next for you. So, and where do you see it's just like what's next. So what's the next 5 years look like for you? I know you have some plans coming up. So tell us a little bit more about like what's next for Mr. Byron.
So, I mean, I see myself like me in 5 years. I see myself at least like with a house, possibly starting a family. I don't know. I am already engaged, so I mean, I most likely will be planning that out in the next year or so. Don't worry, you're invited. And yeah, I mean, hopefully, I have a school that I'm running. Yeah, I mean, I don't have like I don't have a long list of things I want in the next 5 years. It's more so like 3 or 4 things that I'm focusing on.
Good.
From now until then.
Yeah.
That way I just keep building on those 4 things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome, Mr. Byron. All right, last question. What's your message to, let's say, the world? What's your message to like the community, to the kids that are coming up under you, to someone that wants to go through the same path that you did? What's your message?
That's definitely quite the question. I would say just stay focused, keep working hard. Hard work is what's going to lead you to success. Just stay focused on your dream. So if you, let's say for martial arts, your dream is black belt, get to that. From there, you have a wide variety of things you can do. Just stay focused.
I love it, Mr. Byron. I mean, it's been a pleasure seeing you grow all these years. It's been how many years? Bad at math.
10.
Like 10 years.
10, 11.
10, 11 years that we've known each other, and it's a long time, right? So I've seen from not so confident to a little bit confident, and now we're starting to blossom. And even in this, just seeing you speak in this podcast today, really just shows me like how far you've come. Because I feel like, I don't know, do you agree, like maybe 5 years ago even, do you think you would be as confident to do a podcast like this?
Probably not. I mean, even 5 years ago, I was already like a year into being a black belt. I was still working on the confidence, because like there's a certain level of confidence you can get to before black belt. Once you get to it's a black belt, it's like you're back to zero kind of. But no, I mean, definitely I've grown a lot in the last 5 years than from like beginning to black belt.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Byron, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for being on episode number 1.
Thank you for having me.
All right. And if you guys are interested in coming on the podcast, please just let us know in the comments below. We are going to be bringing on business owners, our parents of our students here at the school, our current students, instructors, and we're really looking to inspire the community to either start their martial arts journey themselves. We're going to have different business owners sharing their origin stories, how they started their business, to also inspire the community and the youth to see if they want to start their own businesses as well. And once again, this has been Mr. Byron. Thank you so much for coming on, and we'll see you on the next episode. Take care.